Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Lori. I'm back again with Marni as my guest. If you haven't seen the last video, definitely check it out. But today we are going to talk to her about her expertise in dating and approaches and how men can attract women. So Marni, I'm going to ask you first off to maybe answer a question that you don't get too often because a lot of your clients are men. But you know, a lot of what you do is translate between the two genders and sort of what are the sort of misconceptions about, you know, women and men. What do you think are the things that women often misunderstand about men?
Oh my God, everything. Because they think that men are women. So it's funny. So I actually created a program for women about 3 years ago that's called That's Not How Men Work. And the reason that I created that program was because I have been working with men for the past 12 years. And it was through osmosis that all this information was going into me and affecting my relationships with men. But slowly over time, from hearing from all of my clients, from hearing their insecurities, their questions, their frustrations, like all these things that I didn't think men were so confused about, I started advising my female friends differently. The main things are that I've learned is that men are single focused. Men have a strong desire to be understood as well and to be liked and loved and appreciated for who they are at the core. I didn't know that about a man. Men are insecure. Men fear rejection. When you are silent and you say that nothing is wrong with you, men take your word for face value and believe.
That's true.
Men are afraid to make you unhappy, and they're afraid to they're walking on eggshells all the time, and they're afraid to blow up the mind. Men, again, because they're single focused, that if they feel like they've got you, they're going to focus on other areas and not be able to put so much into you because they feel like you are solid at that time. They can't multitask the same way that we do. So there's a lot of things, a lot of misconceptions.
Do you think that there are a lot of sort of misconnections between people that could easily be great couples, but they're just not communicating well in that first sort of stage?
Oh my God, and I get to advise those people every single day where I help them cut out the fluff and the BS in their communication, and I help them be direct and clear about what their intentions are. So a lot of the time, men and women do this, more so women, they'll say something to a man, but it's not really what they want to say, or they'll give in to something that he said or what they think that he wants, hoping that secretly underneath he's going to act differently because he'll somehow know exactly what she wants. And in fact, if she just said, you know what, I really want to go see this movie, like a simple statement like that, and he could say, okay, I want to do that too, or no, I don't want to do that, I want to do something else. Clear, cutting out the fluff communication is always going to get people better results, whether they're a man or a woman. And I think because people are so afraid, and it hurts your pride and your ego, and it's uncomfortable to really be vulnerable, what we tend to do is we put out muffled communication to another person that could potentially be really important to us, that either frustrates them or angers them or confuses them like crazy, and then we don't get what we want. So my saying for both men and for women is the only way to get what you want is by asking for it. So figure out what you want and then ask for it in a kind, authentic way, and then take whatever response that you get back, and that's open communication. So yes, long answer for that question, but absolutely, there's a lot of connection.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes to what I actually really like about a lot of the advice that you give in your book and on your videos, which it seems like the core of it is to really have people get to know themselves and be comfortable with themselves, and then also really understand what it is that they want. Because I think not just men, but a lot of women sort of go out there wanting to be in relationships and just wanting to date and wanting to get positive feedback from everybody they approach, but it's just not really, you know, it's not even statistically possible.
Yeah, like it's not looking at the important things. And obviously at different stages of our lives, we have different things that are important to us. And like, you don't always have to like sit for hours and figure out what exactly do I want. But I think it's nice to get a clear understanding because, okay, so let's say you were like a hunter, right? And if you just went out into the jungle and had your gun and didn't know what you were going after and didn't know like how other animals work and what their sleeping patterns are, and you just went in really loosely, most likely you would get killed. You get
yeah.
by crap. I don't even know. But like the point is that if on the other hand you go on in with a clear plan and a clear vision of what it is you want to do, you have a plan of attack, you prepare yourself correctly, you're armed with the right tools and weapons or whatever it is that you need, you know how the people that you're hunting after, how they act in their day-to-day lives, and you go in and it becomes easier and it's much more seamless and it's not as stressful and frustrating. It actually becomes enjoyable and fun. Yeah. And so that's what I'm trying to help people do in their own dating lives, is just like become better at hunting.
Yeah.
And just be clear on what they want. It's not to be really specific, but it can be like, you know what, I'm looking to have a fun night tonight, and you know, potentially I could enjoy it by having a great conversation with a girl. That's a good intention to have. And by putting that into your head instead of like this big pressure of, I want to approach like 4 different girls and I want to get laid by the end of the night. Like, it's just that it's more narrow, it's more specific, and it's more targeted, and it helps you get what it is that you want and maintain a much more calm composure.
I think it can also make people forget that they're dealing with individuals, right? I mean, women are out there, or men are out there, and you want to have some success in your dating life, but you know, they're people. So at the end of the day, you may not even like this hot girl that you see across the room, or this hot guy that, you know, passes by you or something. I mean, they're just people that you should get to know, and you may find that you hate them, right?
Exactly. But then a lot of people, what they end up doing is they fixate on these attractive people, building up stories about how wonderful they are. They don't actually end up ever approaching, and then they kick themselves afterwards because they missed the opportunity and potentially, you know, sleeping with that girl or meeting their future wife or whatever pressure it is that they're putting onto themselves. And they walk away with this perception that everybody is so grand and better, and they're like, it just ends up kind of kicking you in the ass. It doesn't benefit you in any way.
Did you see, by the way, I wonder what you think about this. There was an article like a little while back that went pretty viral about some tests that they did where they sat a woman and a man like who didn't like each other like together, and had them ask a series of questions staring into each other's eyes, and they fell in love. I thought that was funny because, not because I didn't believe that it made these people feel things, but it's kind of like these questions are common sense. It's like, have we gone that far in our society where we're approaching people and not even bothering to like really truly get to know them, and then to the point where like when we do finally ask those questions of someone, we feel like extremely close? You know what I mean?
No, I hear what you're saying. I saw there was the woman who, her article was in the Huffington Post or something. I totally forget what it was. But she had seen the New York Times article about this 36 questions to I love you. And then so she's like, I'm just going to try this by myself. I'm not going to do it in the lab. I'm going to do it with this guy that I kind of know. And we're just going to do it at a bar, see if it works. Like, she was totally hoping that it would fail. And it ended up that she ended up falling in love with this guy who she never saw as a viable option for her before. And then I saw her TED Talk, and she was talking about that whole process. She happens to still be in a relationship with him. Then she was talking about like what happens after I love you, about the process of actually being in a relationship. So go back and answer your question. I don't think that we're so far removed. I don't think that many people were asking these questions of each other before. I think a lot of these questions are extremely vulnerable, and people don't get to that place quite often on their first few dates, either because they don't want to and it's uncomfortable, or because they're told not to. Like, one of the questions was like how do you think you're going to die? Like, if you didn't have that set list of questions and some guy asked you that on a date,
right.
Like, I to be honest, I kind of would be intrigued by that question, but I'm telling you that I think most women would be like, that's a weird question. You asked me how I'm gonna die. That's like, I'm sure there's lots of women who would be turned off by it, but if they're like, I'm doing the 36 questions, they're totally responsive to that type of question. So I don't think that we're removed and we're not, like, you know, asking the right questions on dates. I think that a lot of us focus in the beginning on the excitement and the having fun. I think as we get older, and maybe as we go through a few different relationships, a lot more people do have questions that are a little bit more vulnerable and a little bit more real during their dating process, but definitely not those 36 questions. I think they're fantastic questions, and if you can mix in some of those questions on your dates, I actually just did a video on YouTube about questions to ask on dates, and a couple of those questions were in that list, because I think that they're interesting ways for you to get to evaluate the person that's in front of you, because if you don't really like how that person thinks and how their brain works and their view of the world, you can quickly see that. And I think a lot of women and men forget, especially men, I will say this, they forget that they can also be a selector. They forget that they're on the date too to decide whether or not they want to further invest in this person. I think a lot of guys are like, great, I got her, she's attracted to me, so now how do I make her continuously happy? What conversation do I bring up that she'll enjoy? Which is a very nice attitude, but a lot of the times it doesn't really benefit and it doesn't really benefit the whole interaction overall, because there's so much focus on pleasing this woman that you don't really know, as opposed to just enjoying the two of you and getting to know each other.
I'm sure a lot of people are curious, how did your husband approach you initially?
I approached him, but I just started talking to him. We were at I had dated two of his friends, and I had only seen him in passing. But so the second friend that I had gone on a couple of dates with, where it did not work out between us, he kept inviting me around to things. And because I had some cute friends, he had cute friends, he's like, why don't you bring your, single cute friends down to the beach? They used to have these Sunday beach volleyball days. And he said, come, have margaritas, have fun, hang out with my friends. So he went down, and I just started talking to my now husband, and I really was not attracted to him. We had a really good conversation. We had a nice connection. Conversation was very comfortable, but I didn't feel anything for him. He wasn't really bantering with me or teasing me. Like, it was just conversation that was kind of nice. And I saw him out a couple more times afterwards. And I think, like, at the third time that I saw him, I was at this bar that was near where I lived, and he showed up, and it's going to sound strange, but he was wearing a sweater and glasses. I don't know why. Something but he was sitting in his chair a certain way that just made him look really sexy, and I didn't notice that he was attractive before. And I leaned over to my girlfriend and I said, is this guy attractive? I can't tell. And she rolled her eyes and said, oh my God, you're an idiot. Of course, yes, he's very attractive. Hey, that's interesting. And then he just started talking to me differently. He was teasing me. He kind of made fun of me a little bit in like a joking way. He sitting back with, I don't know, his whole demeanor was very different.
He was like giving the vibes.
Yeah, and so at the end of that night, I had to leave. I forget where I had to go, but I asked him for his phone number, and then he called me and he asked me if I wanted to go to the farmer's market for the following Sunday, and then I was busy and I couldn't go, but I thought that was a good date idea, really cool. And I ended up saying, do you have HBO? Because I was like 24 when I met him and had no money and couldn't afford HBO, and I had never seen the show Entourage, but I kept hearing about Entourage. He's like, yeah, I do. I was like, oh, well, can I come watch Entourage at your house? So we ended up, that was our first date. We ended up watching Entourage, and I got there and I liked how he set up his whole house too. Like he had candles lit, but it wasn't like like I'm gonna sleep with you type of candle lighting. It was like, I just like having candles lit in my house because that's kind of cool. And he made me some snacks and he poured me some wine and we had really good conversation and we watched Entourage. Anyway, longer answer than what you wanted. But I liked the whole process of how he did everything, and he did it very comfortably. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like he was trying to impress me. It just felt like he was inviting me into his world. And as we continued dating more, and he would do things like open the car door for me, which I had never had done before, I found myself liking him more and more because it didn't feel forced what he was doing. Right. It wasn't, I'm opening the door because I know I'm supposed to open the door for you. It's like, I like opening the door and you're going to let me open your door for you. Right. And I felt masculine and strong and like a leader, like somebody who was just taking ownership of who he was and didn't really, not that he didn't care what I thought, but he didn't care if I liked it or not because he knew that he would find somebody else who did.
That's true. Yeah, I think confidence is probably like the sexiest thing that a man can...
Yeah, and if your confidence is in, I don't open doors for girls, that's confidence as well. Confidence isn't tied to like gentlemanly behavior. It's tied into your beliefs about who you are and being proud of it.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the channel for both of these videos. It's been so great.
Yeah, of course. And definitely people who are watching can find out more information. Go to winggirlmethod.com, or you can check out my podcast, the Ask Women podcast, on iTunes.
Awesome. And I will leave all the links down below for you guys.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. Okay. And you're going to be on my videos as well, so tell people to go watch it.
Check out the link for the podcast, right? That's what we're going to be on. And you will hear Marni and my next conversation also. All right. Take care, guys. Bye.